Finally, I'm going to explain my last class, which is the Paper Review Driver 2 class. This class is the place where I called all the methods that were previously implemented into my author class and paper class. This is a simple class that is conformed by the public static void main, and I define there no, sorry, I define there 5 sections. Each section represent each of the requirements of the project. Okay, we here we got the first requirement, that is get the submitted papers details by the author's primary key. Then we have the second requirement, that is get all reviews for a particular paper ID. Then we have the third requirement, that is to count how many papers were submitted. The fourth requirement is to insert uh, a new paper and also a new author in my database. And the last requirement is to delete the first author row in the author table by the author's ID. So going back to the first requirement, to get the papers detailed by the author's primary key, I call the get paper by author email. All right, and I pass to this method this author email, jkrowling@aol.com, and after execute the method, I just show on the screen the result of the execution. Later on, when I execute the program, you will see the result. For the second requirement, I call the get paper reviews method. Okay, and I passed as input parameter the ID equal to. So I'm gonna get all the reviews for paper ID equal to. Okay, in this case, I am using the underscore paper object. If you see here, the underscore paper object is an instance of the paper object. For the third requirement, okay, which is to count all papers submitted, I call the method get count papers submitted, okay, through the underscore paper object. Here, in the fourth requirement, that is for creating a paper submission, including new records in the author and paper tables, I validate first that the author exists in the database. If the author exists, I don't need to create the author. So here I just showed a message that author exists and that user can add a new book for that particular author email. In case that the author doesn't exist, all right, I have to add a new author first, and then the user will be able to add the new paper. Okay, let's me explain a little bit about the else of this if-else statement. The first thing that I do here is to show a message that the author must be adding first to the database. Okay, and also I show the number of existing authors prior processing a new author. For that, I call the get count authors using the underscore author object. After this step, I call the method add new author. All right, and I pass the new author email. I pass I pass the author first name, and also I pass the author last name to that method. The next step is print to print the amount of records that exist in T paper table prior insert. Okay, for that I call the get count papers submitted method. All right, and after that I call the method add new paper. I pass to this method the author emails. The Also I pass the paper's title. I pass to this method the paper's abstract, and also I pass the paper's file name. Okay, after execution of this method, I show the total of records in T paper table after the insert it's executed, and for that I call again the get count paper submitted. Finally, uh, I print the new paper information, okay, using the get paper by author email. Then in the last step, I print the new paper information. For that, I call the get paper by author email method, and I pass to it the new author's email. So that's all the steps that I execute in order to add a new paper to the database. Finally, for the last requirement, which is delete the first author row in my author table, I call the delete author method and I pass the author ID equal 1. And this is all the instructions for the main program. Now I'm going to execute the paper review driver to Java programs, and you will see all the results after all these executions. Now I'm going to execute my paper review driver to the Java program, and you will see I can get all the results of the execution of all the methods that I called in this main program. So let's do it. I'm gonna click on the execute button, and voila, we got all the information here. So let's see. Get submitted papers detailed by the author's primary key, J.K. Rowling at AOL.com. We got the paper ID number 1 and paper ID number 2. The title information of that paper, it's Harry Potter and the Chamber of the Secrets. The abstract, the author email, it's J.K. Rowling. The first name is Jennifer Kate, and the author's last name is Rowling. For the paper ID equal to, the title is Very Good Lives. The abstract, it's here, Very Good Life, represent words of wisdom for anyone at a turning point of life. Author's email is the same as the previous one, JK Rowling at AOL.com. author's first name is Jennifer Kate and author's last name is Rowling. So that's all information that belongs to the author's J.K. Rowling, and her primary key on each of the record's primary key is the author emails jkrowling@aol.com. Then for the second requirement, to get all reviews for a paper by the paper's ID equal to, we got only one review, which is the review ID equal 4. The reviewer ID is also the reviewer ID equals 4. The paper ID, it's paper ID 2. As we can see, the paper ID is the same as the paper ID that I passed as input parameter. We have the merit value, it's all 8.5. The readability is 8.5. The originality is 8.5. The relevance also is 8.5. And finally, the recommendation value is recommended. Remember that the condition for getting the reviews for a paper is that recommendation has to be or must be equal to recommended. So our query will filter all the reviews with recommendation equals to recommended. Then we got the count of all papers submitted. Okay, and here we got the amount of papers submitted. Uh, then we have here the amount of papers submitted is equal to 6. Okay, according to our database. And here we are going to create a new paper submission, including new records in the author and paper tables. As you remember, I validate first that the author exists in the T author tables previously. So in this case, the author peter.parker@yahoo.com doesn't exist. So I have to add the author first before adding the new paper. My method that counts the amount of authors returns that the T author tables at the moment that I execute, it had 10 records previously of the insertion of the author. Then it shows the program shows that one record was added into T author, and the author Peter Parker Brown with the peter.parker@yahoo.com ID was successfully added into T author, and now we have a total number of existing author after processing a new author is equal to 11. Okay, the amount of author prior processing a new author was 10. Now the amount of author after processing is equal 11. So we have a new author. Then we get how many records we have in T paper table prior the insert instructions, and we got 6 records. Then we add a new one, and now the total of records in T paper after insert is equal to 7. And finally, here we got the new paper information. We got the paper ID 13, the title, Small Great Things, the abstract of that paper, the author's email, which is peter.parker@yahoo.com. Okay, it's equal like this one. The author first name is Peter and the author's last name is Parker Brown. Finally, for the last requirement, delete the first author row in your author table by the author's ID. I tried to delete the first row in the author's table, which is primary key was equal 1. But I received that this exception here from the SQL control, and it says something like cannot delete or update a parent row. A foreign key constraint fails. DB paper reviewers key paper constraint foreign key references the author. Well, basically, or yes, basically what this exception is showing that we can basically this exception just wants to show us that the author cannot be deleted because it's generating an referential integrity constraint. It's violating a referential integrity constraint with the T paper. So that the author that we are trying to delete, it has a paper inserted previously in the T paper table. So in order to delete that author from the T authors table, we have to first delete the paper, and then we can delete the author from the T author table. So I want to show you an additional thing. I'm going to close the console, and I'm going to try to execute again the program, okay? And you will see the difference when an author exists in the database and we try to add a new paper. Okay, we got the same results for the first 3 requirements. Okay, and for the 4th requirement that create a new paper submission, including new records in the author and paper tables, I received the message that this author exists already in my database. So I'm able to add a new book for peterparkett.yahoo.com. Okay, so that's the demonstration of my program, and that's it. Thank you very much, Professor Brooks, and I'll see you in the fall semester. Bye bye.